Joining us on this episode is Paul McPherson. Paul runs Shutterfreek with his wife Katie in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Having a literal trademark on Make Adventure Your Tradition, they're obsessed with real experiences, which fully encompasses their candid, unposed, dramatic, and gritty approach to photographing couples and further extends to their family and lifestyle. I'm Kyle Wilson, and this is The Photographer's Problem.
Okay, sweet. Today we are chatting to Paul McPherson, who is a good friend of mine. He is the man or part of the duo behind the brand Shutterfreek, which you may be familiar with. Paul, you've worked as a professional photographer for 14 years now. You've shot over 1,000 weddings. You've amassed about 180,000 followers on social media, which is a bit of a big deal.
At least half of them are fake. Keep that in mind.
I was thinking that. I want to start with this question. Why is photography important to you?
I have been drawn to photography since I was a kid. My dad had a really nice Nikon 35 millimeter. I would sneak it out of the cabinet. I would load film in it and go out and shoot photos. I had no way to develop the photos. I had no idea what I was shooting until my dad would edit the film and figure out that I had snuck the camera out. And so it just, my dad wasn't really into photography. He just happened to have a nice camera and consequently, I worked at a camera shop in Farmington, New Mexico, right out of high school, where we were selling darkroom supplies, chemicals, printing paper, all the trays. Like it was right at the very beginning phase of digital entering the scene. And I just remember, I think it was a Pentax digital point and shoot that had the built-in zoom. It was like super high tech, and it was really boring to work at this camera shop because no one came into it. So I would just sit and tinker with these digital cameras, but they were way out of my price range. So it wasn't like I could buy one, but I just was totally fascinated with it. And to be honest, with the exception of a few lucky like double exposures on film that I got, and some other, just some lucky shots, I was not a good photographer. And I wasn't. I was an equally bad editor. I had literally no sense of style. I just had a passion to stick with it, keep doing it. I just wanted to do it. And then video was next. As soon as affordable video cameras started dropping, I got one. And just the very second I started making any money, shooting film was the first step. So I just wanted to shoot videos. I started shooting breakdancing videos back in the late 90s, back before anyone knew breakdancing still existed. Everyone thought it was gone. Now it's in the Olympics. But I was shooting breakdancing videos, which at the time I thought were super, edgy. But again, just kind of like there are those that have natural gifts and talents and just have innate creativity inside them. And then there are those that have a passion to unlock those abilities through hard work. And I'm one of those people. My wife, Katie, is much more naturally talented. Like in high school, in her photography classes and stuff that she was into it early on too. Like her composition was awesome. Her just,
yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's funny you mentioned that. I've actually, when I first started my photography brand Chase Wild, Cam and I traveled around the world and we met like who at the time were some of our favorite photographers. And there was one thing that I remember taking away from the experience of meeting like, 10 of my favorite photographers in the world was that every single one of them worked really hard. And that was like the consistent pattern that I saw across all of it. And it's funny that you say that. It's like, you might have a natural talent in it, you might not. But the thing which really does help you succeed is just that laser focus and like just sticking at it. And you've been at it for a while now.
I mean, I've been at it for 20 years. I started shooting weddings roughly about 20 years ago, but I was doing it as a freelance on that photographer's gear. I was getting paid, but like it was on, he was first year, he was paying me to second shoot with him. The next year, he gave me my own T7i Rebel and sent me to a wedding of his. I had no clue what I'm doing. I've run into those clients since and just like apologize for the photos because I have no idea what he was thinking sending me to those weddings. But yeah, when Katie and I got married 16 years ago, we started Shutterfreek and bought our first pro camera, 5D Mark II. It was our first pro body.
Yeah.
And
today, Shutterfreak is like, it's a highly recognized brand. You're super sought after. People are, you book a lot of weddings. Why does a person book Shutterfreak? Like what is it that makes Shutterfreak different to other photography brands out there?
Believe it or not, I think it is 100% the way we interact with our clients. I would love to say it's because our photos are one of a kind and no one can replicate them, but that's not true. Like they can be replicated. When we are on the set at a wedding, we go into it genuinely wanting to make friends with every single person we come in contact with. And it's not cheesy. Like I want to know who the parents are. I want to know who the grandparents are. I want to know their stories. I want to know the bridesmaid, the best friend, the cousin that came from a long distance. We just genuinely want to get to know people. And then the other thing is there's never a moment where we are not working. There's never a moment where we're just kicking it, even when we're eating, the complimentary meal for the evening or whatever. Like we don't get settled in. We don't take our gear off. We don't every single second we're at the wedding, I am hunting for experiences, emotions, reactions, connections, relationships. They're happening all the time. Every second of the entire event, something's happening that's worth documenting. And so it's not uncommon for people to come up to us at the end of an event and say, you guys did such an amazing job today. And I'm like, you haven't even seen the photos. Like you have no idea you have no idea what we've done, but they just know, because like, they're like, we've never seen like, we've been to a lot of weddings. We've never seen photographers like you guys. And
yeah,
yeah, we want to tell every detail of the story if we can.
yeah,
And
yeah. I've heard another photographer say, the way that you make your client feel when you're shooting with them massively impacts how they'll feel when they receive the images. And so, like, if you want them to love what they receive, it kind of starts, from the moment that you're working with them. And the more that they love you, the more that they're going to love the images that they receive from you. And it's such a big part about it.
That's right.
So
I will say one other thing. Every wedding photographer, videographer should own a one wheel.
Should own a what? Sorry?
A one wheel.
What's a one wheel?
It's that electric motorized. It's like a snowboard. Okay,
it's like that thing Casey Neistat would ride around New York.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I show up to a wedding, I roll in on the one wheel, and like the statement that makes is like, when when Owen Wilson and his posse walk in on that funeral in Zoolander, and like the whole like scene pauses and the DJ music comes in. Like that's kind of what it's like when we show up at a wedding. So,
are you carrying like a boombox or anything like that, or like do you like hire in like a team to kind of like follow you? Like, is it like a flying V kind of situation, or like is there like synchronized dancing or?
It's pretty intense. I'll just leave it at that. It's very intense. A lot of times we're like, hey, we will sign autographs after the reception, not now.
Yeah. We got work to do. Talking about things being intense, you've got you run a couple businesses, a couple photography businesses, and you have a family. You've got is it 3 kids? You've got it'd be interesting to hear a little bit more about your personal life. Like, what does the average day look like in the McPherson household?
Yeah, day to day is crazy. Our kids are almost 16, 13, and 12. And so they're all in middle school, high school. And Katie does the lion's share of the taxi service for them. I wake up early and try like heck to get a workout in or some type of exercise just to like get me balanced for the day. And then since COVID, we set up a gym in our home, and we just kept it there. And so that's kind of a blessing and a curse, because like in between sets, I'm tempted to come in, turn on my computer, check email, stuff like that. And then that's like 15 minutes later. So it's a distraction, but yeah, we are in go mode, either with work or kids, from 6:30 until 9:30, 10 every day. So Sundays we intentionally take off.
Yeah.
We haven't made a commitment 14 years ago that we decided we weren't going to book any events on Sundays, and just to dedicate that day to our family. And Sunday's a popular day for weddings, and it's been a bit of a sacrifice financially, but I feel like our family's been super blessed as a result of it. So it's been good to have that day.
And how do you actually get it all done? Like, because I think it might be interesting for people to hear, between weddings and your commercial business, how many shoots would you be doing in a year? And how do you get them all done?
Okay, so we currently have 12 businesses that we are on contract, on a monthly contract with. We do 100% of their marketing and advertising. And that's everything from their social media management, video production, photography, their personal content. My background's in web development before cameras were a permanent part of our life. I was working with web development companies, so we help businesses with their websites and do graphic design, and we cover the gamut of it. And we've always had one foot in that space while we were shooting weddings, and we thought that we wanted to go 100% weddings. And then in 2022, we shot over 60 events together, and it just about broke us. And we realized that while we may have had the option to go down that full-time wedding elopement road and do pretty well financially, it was going to take us away from our kids. So having a foot in commercial ended up being a huge blessing, because most businesses are done at 5 or 6 in the afternoon. So there is kind of a cutoff, like there's a point where they're not going to be texting us, and we get to be home. So we've we turned the volume down on weddings and elopements. We're only doing about 20 to 25 a year max. So as soon as we have that many booked, we're done.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it has now made it so that when Katie and I go do a wedding or elopement, that is our escape. That is our opportunity to be together, hang out together, stay at a decent hotel, eat a nice meal, chat in the car for hours. We put on about 15,000 miles on our vehicles every 6 months.
Whoa. And so just to be clear, you're saying that you've got 12 commercial clients, and what do you shoot with them monthly?
We're creating content for them monthly, yes.
Okay, so you're doing like 144 shoots for the commercial clients across the year, plus like 20 to 30 weddings and elopements.
Correct. We have a couple of clients who are out of state. We'll go and shoot content for them every quarter. And then we've figured out, especially with iPhone 15 and everything, a lot of businesses can create the content themselves. It's the editing and the branding of that content that makes the difference on social media. So we have started like training businesses how to get us the content that we need. We used to think, oh, it's not going to be worth sharing if we don't shoot it. It's not going to be professional enough or whatever. But like the landscape's changed with social media, right? Photography businesses and videography businesses need to be putting out polished stuff all the time. But a plumbing enterprise doesn't necessarily need like high-end production on every single post, right? So we do a lot of iPhone stuff, and we're shooting all the time. We are usually out like with our cameras, and you've heard the saying, like, you're making money when you're in production, when you're shooting, right? Like that's like that is the indicator of how well we're doing. If we're in production all the time, we know that we're generating revenue.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so you're doing like 160 to 170 photo shoots a year, maybe more sometimes. That's good and all that you can like have the stamina to turn up to that many shoots. But then, like, there's a whole lot of stuff you got to do afterwards as well. And, like,
Yeah.
what's happening there? How are you actually making that work?
So we do have quite a unique workflow. We have a few, I would call them employees, but they're independent contractors that work with us full time. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend in Utah who helps us on the video production side. So
Mm-hmm.
any wedding I shoot, I'm getting ready to dump 6 weddings that we shot photo and video at simultaneously. Mm-hmm. I'm sending him 6 weddings, just video. He will scrub through that content and build basically rough cuts of all of the assets we're going to deliver to those clients. And we use Final Cut Pro. Once he cuts mm-hmm. rough cuts, he sends me the XML. I can take the XML, load the wedding, and start polishing it out. So that's one way that we save time. We also have a content creator, my wife's sister, who is dedicated to specific accounts. She's a brilliant graphic designer / content creator. She does amazing reels. She is amazing with brands and creating aesthetics. Our big thing with businesses is we want to make their first impression loud and flawless, so that someone understands in just a few clicks what they're about. And she does a phenomenal job at that. And then she pitches in on some of the other clients that we have when we need help. And then my wife also, she shoots photos, she shoots video, she edits photos. She does a lion's share of the culling in narrative, and she does the lion's share of the base edit also now through narrative. And then I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit picky to a fault. So I'll go in and just do a final glance at everything and kind of tighten up little things here and there. And we're getting to that point where we do feel comfortable scaling and outsourcing some of these things, because in the end we can put our signature touch on it. But but yeah, it's just you have to have people involved to accomplish bigger things, right? So.
So Paul, I mean, like, there's an insane number of photo shoots that you are shooting, and like hundreds. There's a huge amount of culling. There's a huge amount of editing. I'd love to hear, like, how has Narrative, the product, and helped you improve your culling speed and your editing speed?
Narrative Select has been an absolute game changer for our workflow. We used to cull photos in Lightroom like everybody else. And once we finally committed our workflow to Narrative, the AI control of being able to even just have it narrow down to the photos it thinks are usable. The potential picks is where we live. We don't even mess with focus stuff, because we're shooting photos out of focus intentionally all the time. So we hang out in potential picks. I can cull an 8-hour wedding in roughly about 20 minutes. I would say that's 3,000 to 4,000 photos from an 8-hour day. 20 minutes.
That's incredible.
I can cull it down to about 700-ish images is kind of what I like to start with. And then
what
narrative.
Does that actually look like? Because for someone who is doing it the old way, like, what are you? How are you doing it?
So with narrative, it has the ability to stack images that are either duplicates or very similar, right?
Mm, mm,
So, in every shoot, I mean, we're shooting high speed on our Canon R5. So we have 10 to 20 photos frequently of the same thing, just like spraying moments and trying to capture stuff. So
mm, mm,
just being able to, if there's one keeper at the top of the
mm,
list
mm,
that I can put a star on and move
mm.
on by clicking one arrow key, I've just gone through 10 to 20 photos in a split second. And I don't even have to think
Yeah,
about it. I don't
yeah,
even have to look at those photos. So that's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I already know the shoot. I'm generally hitting one for one star and the arrow keys, and that's all I'm doing. It's like I'm playing the drums.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're using scenes view, which, as you said, scenes
Yes.
view breaks the photo shoot up into scenes, which are groups of similar images. And then the default sort order in scenes view is not chronological. It's not the order that you shot them in. It's reordering each
Right.
scene. And the AI is making an assessment about what is more desirable and it's putting it near the top, and what is less desirable and it's putting it near the bottom. And it's giving you kind of the creative control and freedom to like choose the image at the top if you want it to, or dig a little bit deeper if you kind of want to see what else was down there. Is that kind of how you're using it?
Yes, that's exactly how we're using it. In fact, I don't even look at the wedding anymore as a chronological sequence of
Mm,
events. It is more about groupings of photos,
mm,
and within those groupings, what is considered a keeper. I may
yeah.
not even land on that photo as the final, because when I import everything when I ship it to Lightroom, I'm going to ship the entire catalog, because I want to be
Mm,
able to see at a moment's notice anything related to any given photo, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the mentality of, is this good enough? Move on. Is this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like is it clean? Is the composition there? Great. It's sharp.
Mm,
Move
mm,
on. And so it's just
mm, mm,
this thought, like it's shifting the thought process from, I need to look at every photo in this spread to determine
mm,
which ones I'm going to edit, to,
mm.
I need to look at this general grouping of photos, which is a fraction of the total wedding, and
Mm.
quickly assess what is a usable image. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing I love about it so much is kind of the fact that you kind of have that control where, if you just need someone smiling at the camera, it's a group shot, great expression, um, uh, then the AI is going to do a really good job at finding the best image for you. But if there's a lot of
Yes.
movement, there's something kind of like, I don't know, they're running around, or I know there's a champagne bottle flying, you wanted the champagne flying in a particular direction, then you kind of have that control to
Yes.
like dig a little bit deeper if you want, and find it. And it sounds like that's totally working for you, and calling a wedding in
Well,
20
and
minutes is incredible.
there's no buffering. So there's literally
Mm,
no lag time in looking at the images. That's critical. Even
mm,
on M chips on our
mm,
new MacBook Pros, if I'm just calling in Lightroom, it is significantly slower. The grouping of like images is the magic
mm,
in Select.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
well, the real magic is in Edit, but in Select, just the AI to group like images
mm, mm.
is huge. If I've
Love it.
spent over 30 minutes on a wedding, it's because that wedding extended over 2 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you mentioned edit, and for those of those of you who don't know, Edit is a product which we just released only a couple months ago. It learns your editing style by importing a catalog of images that you've previously edited, and once you've completed the selection phase in your workflow, it applies that edit so that when you arrive in Lightroom, the images are already edited and adjusted for you in your existing workflow. I want to hear kind of what that's done for you, because I've had these text messages from you and they come through at a time and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like, what's going on?
So I've experimented with several different workflows on applying edits to images. Before Edit, I used to take my cold images from Select in Lightroom, and I would actually just I would find, and I still do this. What I like to do when I'm editing is I find what I think is the best composed, best light, best dynamic range image of the entire spread. And I start my edit with that image. It could be during golden hour. It could be in the morning. I don't care when it is. Could be indoors, could be outdoors. I just look for that image that I know is perfect. And it's easy to make those images look good, right? So I apply the edit and get it to where I want it. And then I will copy that edit and apply it to the entire spread. So it could be 700 images that I'm going to edit from the wedding or whatever it is. Now, based on white balance and exposure and everything else, you already know what the result's going to be, right? Like, based on the Kelvin of that particular photo, all of your reception photos with flash are going to look different, and all of your indoor shots are going to look different, and your sunlight shots during the ceremony are going to look off. So then you have to go through and white balance and color balance everything. But at least I have that base edit there, right? That's the key, because I want that consistency across the whole spread. So just going back and doing the white balance and color balance tweaks, the wedding might still take me 2 to 4 hours, depending on how challenging the lighting was and stuff like that. Now that I have passed that like 12,000 image level of edits, it is now processing an image that I love. In fact, this last wedding that I just sent through it, I would say 80% of the edits I was perfectly fine with, which was insane to me, because if I was to, try to replicate the same thing, like I said, copying and pasting a preset onto a mass number of images, the ratio of good images would be like 10%, and then I'd be tweaking everything else. So to have a learning AI tool apply an 80% successful edit to an entire spread is mind-blowing to me. And it's everything down to it's actually learned the specific color profiles that I like to use. It is realizing that I like to push my blues into the aquas, and I like to pull down my yellows. And it's realizing that I don't like a ton of grain in my images, but I do like a tiny, like a bit of grain. And so anyway, it's just fascinating. It's got to the point now where I'm like so amped to just do an edit to like help it continue to learn. just to see how it will do better on the next wedding. Like it's reinvigorated my passion for wanting to edit all the time, just to like send
Wow.
stuff through and hopefully make
That's
it better.
cool
So
to hear.
now where it's really gotten helpful is for my wife, who's a lot slower on the editing side. And she's also trying to kind of edit to something that I'm going to end up wanting to approve or whatever. I don't know why it ended up that way, but so for her to be able to apply this edit to photos and to have a solid base that she knows I'm going to love right out of the gate has been a game changer. Editing photos isn't like a daunting task for her anymore, where she knows she's going to be in front of the computer for 4 or 5 hours, right? So she can apply that base edit and then go through and just do the tweaks, and it's awesome, dude. It's so awesome.
That's very cool. So you're almost like refining the style, and then she can like run it, and so when she runs it, applies the edits, and it's like most of the way there or almost all the way there, and she can make some final adjustments if she wants, but it's like, trained off the tens of thousands of images that you've edited. That's incredible. I mean, like, this is what we're hearing people sort of say left, right, and center is like, now as you said, is like 80% of the images are edited for, some people it might be more, some people it might be less. And now I've got more time to like improve my photography skills, or work out how to get my next photography booking, or like update my website, or just work out how to be a better photographer.
I mean, before narrative, we were working all day, breaking for dinner, and then we were still editing all night to try to turn over weddings and stuff. So from my perspective, it has freed up time for family, and it's freed up time to actually take on more production, which has increased our revenue capacity, right? That's the most important thing. While I have the energy to go hard, it's like time is the only obstacle I have in terms of how I can grow things. It's been phenomenal. And I was at a point where we were ready to start farming out all of our editing to a company to do that for us, and go through the painstaking process of having them like learn our editing style and try to match it. And then on top of that, it gets expensive if you're shooting, if you're shooting 4 to 6 events a month, it starts really adding up if you're outsourcing all of that. So we love retaining the control, and we love the efficiency. It's amazing.
But I mean, there's a cost of using edit as well, right? Like, depending on if you're on the pay as you go, or the there's a credit pack which is 3 cents per image at the moment. Like, can you justify
comparing pricing? Is apples and oranges, though, right? Because if I were to send a wedding off to be cold and edited, I'm spending $300-ish to have it done, versus the cost of narrative edit is a fraction based on with the time savings.
Depending on how many images in your shoot, you might be paying 10, 20, 30, $40 or something like that.
Right, exactly.
If you're doing a massive shoot. That's amazing. It's so awesome for me to hear this, because obviously, having started narrative, like, that was my mission, was, like enabling photographers to unleash their creative potential, to like help them win back time, to create software that photographers actually love, that makes them excited to sit down and do their post workflow, and it allows them to be better photographers. And we've just launched this product, and there are so many future updates which will be coming out. I think you'll really love. There's one coming out next week, which makes the photo shoot much more consistent across the shoot. And so instead of it looking at each image individually, and trying to work out how that photo should be edited, it looks at groups of similar images, and it works out the trend of like how those images should be edited as a group. And then you end up with like,
I love that.
Much more, because you would see on the old version, like the white balance from one photo to the next might shift to like 100 Kelvin or something like that. You don't see that as much anymore. And every week almost we're pushing a new version of the app. It's just silently updating in the background, and there's a whole lot of exciting things coming. So,
well, and it's the new way to experience. It's the new way to experience Lightroom presets, right? Because like we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars purchasing other photographers' presets, most of the time just to see what their editing style will look on our on our photos, right? So this is a really cost-effective way to jump into some of these other styles, apply them to your photos, just to get a sense. Maybe there's something about those controls in the edit that you really love. Maybe there are a few things that don't jive that well with the way you shoot. I'm hoping down the road that that there is an opportunity to kind of, with each style, I would really like to know what the photographer is shooting on. What's the image being processed with? What profile settings are they using in camera? What are their what Kelvin are they typically shooting at in certain scenarios? Like that information would be really good in order to interpret what their style is doing, right? Because I might be shooting the base image, the raw image, totally different on a different camera, and it may not work, but then you find those ones that do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the inputs to the AI when it learns is actually like the camera model that shot it with, and so it's also learning like how different how different cameras would edit images differently, which is very cool. And I've heard a rumor, I mean, for people who like your style, that you're launching an artist style with narrative as well. Is that happening?
We're sure hoping that happens. You tell me, is that happening?
Yeah, I believe it is. And so, people who love the Shutterfreek style will be able to use the artist style. And for some people, to train your first model, you need to train your first style, you need 2,500 edited images. And if you don't have 2,500, you won't be able to train your own personal style, and so they'll be able to use the Shutterfreek style, and use that on their images, which is pretty exciting. Trained off tens of thousands. What do you say? 12,000 images.
Yeah. So by next week, we will have pumped well over 15,000 images through it, just because we've been shooting a ton of weddings in the last couple of weeks. So we're super excited. We've wanted to launch and sell our own presets for a long time for Lightroom, and we still may do that in the near future. But I think this is an even more effective way to share what we've learned about the way we compose images, and why how we get to the conclusions we get and the tones that we get, stuff like that. It's super exciting, man.
Cool. Paul, thanks so much for jumping on and chatting with me today. And for anyone listening to this, keep an eye out. We'll share, if you sign up for Narrative, we'll you'll get put on our mailing list, and you'll get notified when we release the Shutterfreek artist style, and you can give it a go. And so it was amazing to chat with you today. Really excited.
Thank you so much, James,
to hear how you keep building your business. And thanks for all your support.
Well, thank you for transforming our business. I can't, it will sound totally cheesy in this setting, but I cannot emphasize enough how important narrative is to have in your workflow. We have Lightroom, Photoshop, Illustrator, Final Cut Pro, JPEG Mini, and narrative. Like those are a permanent, and there's some others, but those are a permanent part of our creative workflow. And there's no way we could do what we do without it. So thank you very much.
Awesome.